Do the introduction of Kanzan. All right, here we go. We have guest speaker Kanzan John Slattery is speaking with us about faith in Zazen, ceaseless practice, endless spring. And just a note, Kanzan will be having several references to the documents, and that's linked to the conference page on storder.org page. So he's referenced the pages here, and that information is on our main conference page. So when you hear him reference those documents, the talk recordings are going to be there, as well as referenced to the documents here. So you can go and grab those out on the storg.org or storder.org page. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Kanzan. And again, as always, before we get started, we will start with our Dharma opening verse, and Sensei Tashin will ring the bell and do the verse for us. Just put yourself on mute, and then we'll hand it over to Kanzan. Thank you, everybody, and enjoy the talk. And we will have time for commentary or as directed by Kanzan throughout his talk. So, all right, Sensei, you get us started.
The unsurpassed, profound, and wondrous Dharma is rarely met with even in 100,000 million kalpas. Now we can see and hear it, accept and maintain it. May we unfold the meaning of the Tathagata's truth.
Well, good evening or afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Fusatz, for the introduction. Thank you, Teishin Sensei, for facilitating from your Zendo today, and for everyone for being here. I'm really happy that we're all gathering like this and we're using these tools in our modern way to do this. And one audio check. Can everyone hear me okay? Good, good. So, yeah, I really want to thank everybody. It's a real privilege to be asked to do this. And in the midst of my work week, this is folded into it, or vice versa. It's just part of daily living. So I really, I'm learning a new flow. But it's just wonderful. So I want to thank everybody for your practice. So I'm here in the Bay Area, near Oakland, and not only do we have COVID going on, we have we all have a national political situation. We also have wildfires here too. So it's compounding things, just a lot at once. So this faith and practice is really mattering to me personally, and I hope to convey a sense of faith in this practice and a refuge in this practice that's relevant no matter what we're up against in times of peace or times of strife. But we get tested as bodhisattvas in these times for sure. But we're all bodhisattvas. So when I first heard of the name of the theme of this retreat, Zen practice through challenging times, the first thing that came to mind, and I shared this with Zenku Sensei a while back, was an anecdote, a story that I was told about a Dharma talk that was given by Sojun Mel Weitzman Roshi of the Berkeley Zen Center. This happened last year when the first, well, I should say the latest flaring up of the border crisis at the US-Mexico border was happening, with a lot of suffering, families suffering, children suffering, which is, it's not gone away, but that was hot in the news, and just a lot of people converging there. So what I heard was during a Dharma talk at the Berkeley Center that he was given during I think it was a weekend session. Someone asked him, as this was happening at the same time, he was asked, what should we as practitioners do about this? And I trust the source of this story. She's a Dharma sister of mine here in the East Bay. So what should we do about this as practitioners? And Sojun Roshi said, do Zazen. And I'm sure a few people might have come away a little perplexed. But that really hit me really directly when just hearing that. Now, this is how I understood it, and I still understand it, is he wasn't saying do Zazen instead of going to help people. He was saying Zazen is the foundation of our life, of our everyday life, no matter what's happening. So it's not a case of either or, either you sit or you do that. It's a case of both and. So I really appreciated hearing that. But it was a simple, very direct answer. And that's kind of how I came up with the theme for this faith in practice, faith in Zazen. And so I chose Fukan Zazengi, which is translated as a universal recommendation for Zazen, written by the founder of our School of Zen, Eihei Dogen, because I wanted to draw from and appreciate the relevance of that text that he composed in the 13th century, and really illustrate that timeless wisdom can serve us right here and now. There's a book out there called Eihei Dogen, Mystical Realist. It's by Professor He Jean Kim. And I love that title because I feel Dogen's approach encompasses both the inexpressible universal, but also the concrete reality of here and now. He has a way of doing this time and time again in his teachings. He'll do a lot of wordplay in his teaching too, to really pivot our understanding towards this way. And then I looked at Genjo Koan because I wanted to encourage a magnanimous view of our time, of where we are today. And I find that this magnanimous mind would be especially helpful to us right now. So that's why I looked to those specific writings of Dogen. So I'm going to pick out parts of it, of both, but I don't want to approach it like cherry picking. I just, in the interest of time, it's just necessary to just pull out certain parts of it. But I really encourage taking these in as a whole work, as a wholehearted expression of practice. So again, I feel we're fortunate to inherit this practice because it survived. It survived natural disasters, political upheavals, and whatever else the universe can throw at it. And yet here we are. We're right here doing this. So I hope that in itself is encouraging. We're only defeated if we just stop our practice. So I'm just glad it's really encouraging and heartening that we're doing this together. And I feel lucky. So maintaining this practice goes beyond our individual selves and the time and place that we find ourselves in. And at the same time, it is not at all divorced from these. Again, it's both and. So I'm going to jump into Fukan Zazengi, Universal Recommendation for Zazen. If you have it, great. But you can listen to the words too. I'm just going verbatim from the translation. I'm going to start at the start. So Dogen says, the way is basically perfect and all-pervading. How could it be contingent upon practice and realization? The Dharma vehicle is free and untrammeled. What need is there for concentrated effort? Indeed, the whole body is far beyond the world's dust. Who could believe in a means to brush it clean? It is never apart from one, right where one is. What is the use of going off here and there to practice? So right there, he's setting up an argument, or he's setting up the argument that was popular then, and which was, if Buddha nature is inherent, why do we have to do anything about it? And he goes on, and yet, if there is the slightest discrepancy, the way is as distant as heaven from earth. So he's slicing right through that. And he's getting right to the fact that it's about actualization. Everything is a verb, in other words. The Dharma manifests itself in action, and that's our responsibility. So there is more on that on action in the Fukan Zazengi. I'm going to go past the particular instructions on the posture and go to one of the next sections in the middle. The Zazen I speak of is not learning meditation. It is simply the Dharma gate of repose and bliss. The practice realization of totally culminated enlightenment. It is the manifestation of ultimate reality. Traps and snares can never reach it. Once its heart is grasped, you are like a dragon gaining the water, like a tiger taking to the mountains. For you must know that just there in Zazen, the right Dharma is manifesting itself, and that from the first, dullness and distraction are struck aside. So there's a lot going on there too. What he's recommending is, and he's pointing out, is that this posture in Zazen is manifesting ultimate reality. And like Sojun Roshi was getting at too, in that Dharma talk, and that answer was that this posture extends throughout the day. There's this, we think of practice in terms of 4 postures: sitting, standing, walking, and lying down. And so Zazen is encompassing all the day. And we get a concrete sense of it too in Kinghin, in the forms that we do in the Zendo. But here, Dogen is really emphasizing this Buddha seal, this posture, and this attitude. This is the attitude we take out off the cushion as well. So again, Dogen's way, and what I'm hoping to convey is an active way. And there was a reading I found from Matsuoka Roshi in the Kyosaku. It was titled "Fearlessness in Action and Quiet." This is a talk he gave in August of 1964. So I'm just going to do an excerpt of what Matsuoka Roshi said then in this talk. He said, "Action is in the spirit of Zen. Action is using the potential within you to make the most out of life. In almost anything in life, action is very vital. Everyone, except perhaps the philosopher who can afford to sit and speculate, must act in some way. This is especially true of the sportsman who must decide what to do without delay." So he's giving an example of martial arts here. "I know many of you are studying traditional Japanese sports. You know how important it is that your mind be free of fear and hesitation. It is no different for anything else in life. A man who sits in meditation has the wisdom to act in the right way, and he has an empty mind that will not interfere with his action by thinking of fear or of success or of winning or losing. He merely acts and does so with his whole power." And this is cultivated very directly in sitting practice, but it extends to any action. So yeah, I just wanted to convey some of the foundational teaching of Soto, of Dogen Zenji, in this way, to help us take refuge in what we already have. We have our energy, whatever energy we have. There's no judging whether it's a super amped up energy that's really striking, or if it's a cool energy. It's energy, it's action. We're alive, so we can make use of that in whatever way to help in service of all beings, including ourselves. So the next part in Fukan Zazengi is the very end. Basically the last paragraph. "You have gained the pivotal opportunity of human form. Do not use your time in vain. You are maintaining the essential working of the Buddha way. Who would take wasteful delight in the spark from the flint stone? Besides, form and substance are like the dew on the grass, destiny like the dart of lightning. Emptied in an instant, vanished in a flash. Please, honored followers of Zen, long accustomed to groping for the elephant, do not be suspicious of the true dragon. Devote your energies to a way that directly indicates the absolute. That's a powerful sentence right there. Devote your energies to a way that directly indicates the absolute. Revere the person of complete attainment who is beyond all human agency. Gain accord with the enlightenment of the Buddhas. Succeed to the legitimate lineage of the ancestors' samadhi, or meditation. Constantly perform in such a manner, and if you are sure, and you are assured of being a person such as they. Your treasure store will open of itself, and you will use it at will. Now, if this isn't a vote of confidence in us, I don't know what is. This is quite the encouragement for us. So whatever the condition, health crisis, social crisis, political crisis, or serenity, joy, none of that negates this person of complete attainment. It doesn't negate the enlightenment of the Buddhas. Everything is equal to the Buddha in that sense. So, but this last section is a great encouragement for our practice. So I wanted to share that too. So the reason why I kind of grouped that under, or thematically under, ceaseless practice, the samadhi of the Buddhas, which is our samadhi, has no end, it has no beginning. So, but it's up to us to maintain the essential working of the Buddha way. So I'll leave some time at the end after I go through a little bit of Genjo Koan, but I definitely want to encourage any thoughts, comments, or questions about any of this, or anything I've said too, or what's going on and what's coming up for your practice right now. Okay, so Genjo Koan is the next item. And again, I'm looking to Genjo Koan for a sense of the universal, the magnanimous, view, this magnanimous mind. Dogen, in another writing, his instructions for the cook that you may have seen, which I recommend, applies to everyone. It applies universally too, not just for the monastery cook. But in there, he talks about three minds: magnanimous mind, joyful mind, and parental mind. And that's called Sanshin, three mind. And that's actually the name of the temple of Okamura Roshi in Indiana, from which we share a lineage. So Genjo Koan is again one of his foundational writings, and he wrote this not long after he returned from China, returned to Japan. So again, I'm going to pick sections that pop out, but really every word, every sentence in this work is very pivotal, I find. Okay, so the first is all things are Buddha Dharma, there are delusion, realization, practice, birth, and death, Buddhas and sentient beings. As myriad things are without an abiding self, there is no delusion, no realization, no Buddha, no sentient being, no birth, and no death. The Buddha way, in essence, is leaping clear of abundance and lack. Thus, there are birth and death, delusion and realization, sentient beings and Buddhas. I'm going to allude to something Matsuoka Roshi taught, and actually it was the theme of another talk of mine last year, which is called 360 enlightenment. So you see this duality in the beginning. You see no abiding self. And then you see things just as they are. This is 360 degree enlightenment. We do this, we're looking at this all the time. It's beyond our conceptions of time, but we have skillful ways of visualizing it. But like a circle, you don't see an end. There's no stopping point. That's why the enso, I mean, technically you see the enso, the brush stopping and starting, but a circle has no beginning and no end. This is ceaseless, and this is, it's just active, ceaseless and active. Moving on a little bit into the Genjo Koan, this is the key that really I wanted to bring up out of all of it. Almost near the end of the Genjo Koan, before he brings up the koan story of the master fanning himself, he describes fish and birds. So a fish swims in the ocean, and no matter how far it swims, there is no end to the water. A bird flies in the sky, and no matter how far it flies, there is no end to the air. However, the fish and the bird have never left their elements. When their activity is large, their field is large. When their need is small, their field is small. Thus, each of them totally covers its full range, and each of them totally experiences its realm. If the bird leaves the air, it will die at once. If the fish leaves the water, it will die at once. Know that water is life and air is life. The bird is life and the fish is life. Life must be the bird and life must be the fish. You can go further. There is practice enlightenment, which encompasses limited and unlimited life. This is our Zazen practice. Now, if a bird or a fish tries to reach the end of its element before moving in it, this bird or this fish will not find its way or its place. When you find your place where you are, practice occurs, actualizing the fundamental point. When you find your way at this moment, practice occurs, actualizing the fundamental point. For the place, the way is neither large nor small, neither yours nor others. The place, the way, has not carried over from the past, and it is not merely arising now. Accordingly, in the practice enlightenment of the Buddha way, to attain one thing is to penetrate one thing. To meet one practice is to sustain one practice. This is a key sentence I find for where we are. Here is the place. Here the way unfolds. The boundary of realization is not distinct, for the realization comes forth simultaneously with the full experience of Buddha Dharma. Do not suppose that what you attain becomes your knowledge and is grasped by your intellect. Although actualized immediately, what is inconceivable may not be apparent. Its emergence is beyond your knowledge. So, as each moment arises, we have a new opportunity to wake up. And this is what we do in Zazen all the time. We can go off this way or that way, or we can get crowded up here or other discomforts, or even attachments to pleasurable thoughts and sensations, but we just keep letting go. We're not pushing it away, and we're not grabbing onto it. So as long as there's a practice within at least our conception of space and time, there is an eternal well of opportunity for practice. So again, the times we're in right now is giving us some challenges in that department, but not only do I have faith in the practice through these times, but I have faith in us as bodhisattvas in training. We've got this. And this is the gift we can give. So, so I'll leave it there on the Genjo Koan. There's a lot more to it, but I'll leave it there. I just wanted to bring up one additional, I don't call it a method, I just think it's more of a remembrance from my teachers of how to keep Zen contemporary, as Matsuoka Roshi would say, for this specific time and place. And I'm glad we're doing the Metta Sutra. We're chanting that. I'm glad we're chanting the Kannon Sutra. Those I find very inspiring. Kannon being the Bodhisattva compassion. Metta is this boundless compassion, loving kindness. We find that when we're taking care of others, we're taking care of ourselves. When we're taking care of ourselves, we're taking care of others. And it's just it's an identity. It's a equal identity. This is our way. One thing that's been helping me a lot lately, as confusion and tension and things come up, is really just bringing my mind into Tanden here. So sometimes we talk about this in the practice, the formal Zazen practice, but we can talk more about that in detail. But really strengthening that, and I find is a great relief in the moment, and it really helps the energy in doing the next thing. So really taking care of the breath, letting it be strengthened in tanden, the lower abdomen region, both in sitting and in other postures too. So there's that concrete, physiological thing that recycles out as kind of a calmness. And this is really a gift that not only we give ourselves, but we can, it can help us convey our loving kindness to everything, all beings. So metta and ki, this energy that we cultivate, I find that's been very, very helpful to me right now in negotiating what we're up with right now. So I think I can cap it off there. But I just want to, again, just convey that I hope that looking at the oldies, looking at the classics can really help us today, right now, with what we're dealing with. And hope you get inspiration from it too. And thank you for your practice. Please keep sitting. How are we doing on time, Fusats?
We're doing really good. We have about, I'd say 16 minutes for
Okay.
Q&A.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so that's good. So I'm now putting up the big screen of the boxes and bringing the community up. Again, Kanzan, thank you so much, as always. I had this book at the very beginning of your talk that I went back to the 365 from last year, and I'm just about running out of room. So
Mm-hmm.
I was glad to see you reference that. But again, folks, please this time allow yourself to ask questions. Myself and Cosets, raise your hand, Cosets. Yeah, my partner in crime, we're your tech
Yeah.
buddies that will be helping facilitate the discussion. So please do not be shy. This is a safe space. Kanzan has shared with us some great wisdom of the now and bringing our historical teachings into the now. And that's one thing I love about our practice and our history. So please feel free to either take yourself off mute, put your question. Oh yes, Zinku, thank you for waving over there. Sensei Zinku, please go right ahead.
Whatever it takes, whatever it takes. Kanzan, thank you so much for your words. Appreciate it very much. I'm wondering if, I have a question for you. I'm wondering if you can help us from your perspective, Shojin Roshi's comments aside, what would Dogen tell us to do? What would Dogen be wanting us to do in these times?
Thank you, Zenku Sensei. I would posit that he would say, get up and do what needs to be done. When there's something that needs to be done, take care of it. And with Zazen as our fundamental way and fundamental wisdom, we don't set up a self and other. So it's just coming out naturally. It's just doing enlightened activity. That's something Suzuki Roshi would say too. There's no enlightened beings per se, but only enlightened activity. So, but I just think that it would be par for the course and something Dogen would recommend. He's not just talking to monastics, he taught a lot of lay people too. So whatever needs to be done is to be done. Did I answer that okay?
Thank you, Kanzan.
Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I like that very much. I do think that, as always, our activities are grounded in our practice, and it's actualizing our true nature, actualizing who we are, and the fact that we're interdependent. How can we pick and choose? we have to take care of helping people who are suffering.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I would add.
Yeah, thank you for that. It just reminded me of a story. He would relate stories of, virtuous monks in the of China somewhere, and some of the times they had to break the rules too. Like a kitchen administrator or a storehouse keeper. They had to, they were told not to bring out this bag of rice but monks were starving, so they he procured more rice for people. So he knew how to, get into good trouble. I guess that's the best way to put it.
I think Elliston Roshi raised his hand.
Yes. Oh, I'm trying to see if I can get the gallery view with everybody. Here we go. Hi, Hojo-san.
I just wanted to pick up on Genjo Koan there at the end. He goes after the part you quoted. Zen Master Bao Shu of Mount Mayu was fanning himself. Mm-hmm. A monk approached and said, Master, the nature of wind is permanent, and there's no place that it does not reach. Why then do you fan yourself? Although you understand the nature of wind is permanent, Bao Shu replied, you do not understand the meaning of its reaching everywhere. What is the meaning of its reaching everywhere? Asked the monk again. The master just kept fanning himself, and the monk bowed deeply. Now Dogen goes on to explain this, but I would like you to explain that.
Thank you, Hojo-san. Well, Dogen alluded to this also in a different way at the beginning of Fukan Zazengi. If Buddha nature is everywhere, why do we have to do anything? The nature of wind being permanent and everywhere is not something, it just is. And yet we take care of this and revere this wholeheartedly. That's my short answer. We have to actualize Buddha nature. It's not a concept. I'll leave it there. If you have anything you'd like to ask or add, rather.
Well, he goes on to say, the actualization of Buddha Dharma, the vital transmission of the vital path of its correct transmission is like this. If you say you do not need to fan yourself because the nature of wind is permanent, you will understand neither permanence nor the nature of wind. The nature of the wind is permanent. You can hear Dogen kind of saying it this way, right? Mm-hmm. Because of that, the wind of Buddha's house brings forth the gold of the earth and makes fragrant the cream of the long river, the Milky Way. So, nature of the wind is permanent.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Hojo-san.
I guess I'll call myself Kanzan. Thank you so much as always. I love the topic of the ceaseless, and we talk about this in book club all the time. Say you about your personal experience and not conceptualization of what you're doing, and then how that relates to your day-to-day practice. And for me, that's so important to see this consistency in the teaching woven throughout, the years of not from what I think I should be doing, but the actual being in the practice and what does that look like in your life today. And I feel like this is what makes the teachings living in the now, explaining, especially in the midst of the things that we're doing. And we were having a discussion last week, book club and on Sunday about how like you keep having the perseverance to keep moving through this. And I feel like you give relevance to the historical talks that are still relevant in the day. It's like you could, you know, be living right now in these times, and it's so relevant. And whether we look at our perspective of the things that are going on, and say you'll be very familiar with these words about the uncomfortableness we are feeling is the rich time for the practice. And when we are uncomfortable, it allows us to really practice. So thank you for your words and bringing the historical teachings into the present. Gosh,
Thank you, Fusats. Yeah.
Kushin is waving over there too after your comments, Kushin.
Uh, uh, Kanzan-san, very nice to have you remind us of the importance of words that are timeless and actions that are complete. And in my very crude summary of your talk, it sounds like the suggestion is when we jump into the river of samsara, stay wet and keep swimming.
Yeah, I like that. Yes, keep swimming, but we can help ourselves by we do the right thing by taking care of ourselves. And this is the same as taking care of others. So we're all in this river together. There was another teacher who described it as a soup. I like that too. So again, not setting up a self and other. We take care. Just take care. Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Kushin.
So I got, was that a wave or was that an eye scratch? I just want to make sure.
Kind of a little bit of both. I was struck early on in your talk when you used the phrase, we can't stop our practice. How do we stop our practice in the context of what we should be doing with the idea of action, taking right action? And you said something like, we can't, what would happen if we stopped our practice? What does that mean? Is it possible, do you think, to stop our practice?
I think what you're referring to, if correct me if I'm wrong, is I said the only way to be defeated is if we stopped if we discontinued our practice. I think that was the point I wanted to drive home. But in terms of right action, again, prajna, innate wisdom, and Zenku Sensei had in his opening Dharma talked about the paramitas with prajna as the 6 paramitas as a bloom, and prajna paramita as the center, like the hub of that bloom, the petals going around. So everything springs from this innate Buddha nature, this reality as it manifests, this reality as it is. So any action we do out in the civic sphere, out in the workplace, in our families, is coming from that place. So I hope I conveyed that. And did that answer your question? Okay. Thank you.
Sanki?
I have a question, and that has to do with the discussion that was part of your talk, which I want to thank you for. It was wonderful. And when you talked about confidence, and I think probably we would all pretty much agree that confidence comes from the practice. But if in dealing with students, is there some way that we can help that along. If we're involved in training people, is there some way that we can help them uh, uh, to gain that confidence? And this is I guess a practical question.
Mhm.
So that's the question. Again, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Dogen is just every time the Genjo Koan just sends shivers up my spine every time I hear it quoted. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanki. Thanks for the question. Again, I'll leave it to Dogen and parental mind, one of the three minds, to just create a space, create a compassionate space for people to do and to experience and to learn by doing. And if there's any correction involved, we do it gently, but people need their space to experience, and they find it. We find it together in a sangha environment, a formal environment, and that helps people when they're out of the sangha hall, so to speak. But anyway, I would put it under the umbrella of parental mind, parental compassion. Thank you.
I'm gonna do a quick time check here. We have about 7:54, so maybe one last question or comments from Kanzan, if there are no more questions. So let me just pause here before we get prepped to go back into our Zazen. All right, Kanzan,
Well,
go ahead, Kanzan, I'm gonna allow
actually,
you to, yeah.
I wanted to just say thank you again to everybody, and the Zen Tech Squad has been doing an amazing job. So thank you all. Yeah, it's really great that we're using this. I wanted to say this too. I forgot. My local sangha, I sit with a Gengo Akiba Roshi's temple in Oakland, and when this whole thing went down, COVID, and we were deciding figuring out what we're going to do with Sunday services, kind of on the fence about whether to do Zoom, and then I showed him and Yoshi Sensei, his spouse, what we were doing at Mission Mountain Zen in real time at Kojinan, and it sealed the deal. So now we've been doing these Sunday services for the last 6 months, but via Zoom. So you all helped sell this process to our bishop. Yeah, so thank you. And I want to hear everyone's talk, everyone's presentation. My work schedule has been, like I said, going in and out of the work schedule, but I look forward to hearing everyone's talk. Thank you.
We are being recorded. We've got about 4 or 5 up now. And I just, we'll get another batch tonight that I'll work on getting uploaded. So it may take a little while to catch up, but all the talks are recorded and will be available.
Thank you, Cosette. Okay.
Always willing to be of service. As such, our other techie, a brown robe, Sensei Tashin, will now lead us in our closing Dharma verse. Again, thanks so much, Kanzan, Gasho, to you in your path, and thank you for sharing your wisdom tonight.
Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to realize it. Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to realize it. Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to realize it. Please take a moment to stretch your legs. You've been sitting for an hour, and in a couple of minutes we'll begin our last round of Zazen and Kinyi.